Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I just came home yesterday after a 2-week trip. And of course, whenever you've been away for a stretch of time, like a few weeks, it's always fun to go right through your orchid collection because there tends to be some new things there that you can look at. And of course, this is also the case this time. So I figured that I'd give you a quick update of the developments in my collection and show you some of the blooms that I've opened. There are 2 orchids that are newly in bloom, and some of the orchids that are newly in spike, and some that are now creating buds, and I expect to open relatively soon. To start with, we have this wonderful complex hybrid Phalaenopsis. It is a noID, I'm afraid, so I cannot tell you what it's called if you want to get one for yourself. But this one's special to me because I got it as a gift from my mother. And she bought in the past, as she tends to. She buys them in bloom, and then when they're done blooming, she gives them to me because she doesn't really care about the growing part of it. She just cares about the flowers. So I get the plants, and now I managed to make it rebloom. I'd never seen this one in bloom before, so I'm quite happy to now know what it looks like. I'll give you a close-up of the flowers. It's actually quite a gentle looking flower. It has the... I really like that it's not entirely pink, but that the lateral sepals in the lip are yellowish, and the dotting really makes it quite special, I think. So I'm really happy with this one. I've tried to detect a scent. I don't think there is one, and if there is one, it's very, very, very faint. It actually has quite a lot in bud as well. You can see there's one opening up over here and over here, and you have more buds forming down here. I don't know if this stalk is going to continue. I think it might, but I'm not sure. And then around here, just give you a better angle, you can see 3 different branches coming off. And seeing how healthy and glossy these leaves look, I think it might be in bloom for quite a while, maybe half a year, I'm hoping, but that's a bit long. Usually these last about between 3 months and half a year. They can last longer, but it's rare. So I'm looking forward to a large amount of time with this beauty hanging over my head on the couch. I came home to a second one in bloom though, and that is the Cycnodes Wine Delight. It has a second spike. It flowered for me earlier this year. And then it flowered with 13 flowers, and that was a spectacular show. But this time it's decided to be a little bit more reserved, and it has made, I think I counted as being 8 different flowers. So I'm glad to have that one back, and actually having a few less flowers, well, the show isn't quite as amazing, but the smell is a lot more bearable. Like, the scent can be quite strong when you have 13 flowers. With 8 flowers, the scent is okay, it's fine, it's nice actually. So that's a plus side from having less flowers, I guess. And I feel like, I'm not sure, I'll have to compare it to previous footage, but I feel like the column of the flower is more pinkish than it was before. But I'll have to compare that. This one was already in bloom when I left, but now it has completely opened. Before I left, the last bloom over here hadn't completely opened yet. And this is another noID. I've identified in the past as a Oncostele Firecat, but it's an unofficial ID. It's just what it looks like. I was surprised actually that this one flowered because the pseudobulb from the new growth is much smaller than that of the old growth. So I thought, okay, it's a little bit set back from me repotting it into self-watering leca, and it will need some time to readjust. But it seems like it decided to flower anyway. Even if it isn't the most spectacular flowering, I'm really quite happy with it. The flowers are a bit different from last time, I think. I don't remember the petals having so much yellow in them last time. I believe they were more red. So that's a pretty interesting change. All the way up there, you can see the buds forming on another noID that I have. It's one of those Phalaenopsis with the really big white flowers. And I got this one for my birthday last year, and I've been waiting for it to bloom ever since. But it's taken a while to develop the buds, probably because the flowers are huge, so it just needs a little while. But I'm quite looking forward to that one being in bloom in maybe, I don't know, a month? I have no idea how long to judge before those buds go open. This is one I'm also pretty excited about. This is the Mok Choi Yew, which is a cross between Gigantia and Violaceae. And I really like the flowers of this one. They're really hot pink. And it hadn't been doing anything for a while after I got it, but now it seems to have sprung into life because you can see it has continued the flower stalk. You can tell the green is lighter than that of the rest of the flower stalk. And here we have a bud forming. It'll take a while before the bud is ready to open because being a gigantia cross, the flowers are pretty big for Phalaenopsis. So it probably needs to mature a bit more, but you can see the color starting to creep into the bud. So it won't be too much longer. Maybe, I'm hoping a week, maybe 2. We'll see. And there's another bud coming right over here. So I'm glad to see that because I was worried about this plant just sitting there not doing anything. It's currently in sphagnum moss. So I didn't put this one in leca yet because I really like it and I want to be more gentle on the roots and have an easier transition. And also you can see on the crown that there's a new leaf growing out. A little new leaf tip growing right there. So it has finally kicked into action. And I'm sure this orchid will be right as rain in my environment now. Here's another noID orchid, and yes, I know I've loved noIDs, but that's just, they bloom more easily in my experience. I guess they tend to be complex hybrids, so they bloom more easily and grow more easily. But here's another one. It has really nice red little blooms, and it is working on some new buds. Unfortunately, yesterday when I got home and I was inspecting my plants, I wasn't careful enough, so I managed to actually break off one of the buds on this spike. It used to be over here. But there's plenty of other buds, and I think the spikes are still elongating, and there's a second spike over here. So I'm not too worried about that or upset about that. I remember this one having a scent. It was mildly cinnamony, so maybe it has Phalaenopsis somewhere in its parentage, but I don't think so, judging from how the flowers look. Either way, I look forward to having it in bloom again. I don't really have a tentative ID for this one either. I don't know what it looks like. So if any of you have a tentative ID based on the photo I'm putting up, do let me know in the comments down below. And then unfortunately I'm moving on to some bad news. This is, well, I think maybe I can say this was the bellina variation abla crossed with the tetraspis C1. And I was really looking forward to seeing this one do well and blooming one day. Because first of all, it's a novel hybrid that I really like. When I see the photos online, I want one. It looks really, really nice to me. But even more than that, this was a gift from Annabelle at the Orchid Room. And I just really wanted to do well with it and have it grow really nicely. But it came to me with a compromised root system and I wasn't able to save it. So it was still okay when I left. It didn't look fantastic, but it still had all its leaves. And then when I came home yesterday and I picked up the pot, I just picked up the pot, that's all I did. All these leaves fell off. They just fell off. So I think it's dead. I've had the advice to just leave it on the shelf as is and see if a miracle occurs, which I don't think it will, but it doesn't take much space, so I guess I could leave it here for a little while longer. So, not great. And it doesn't really have any viable roots either. I mean, actually, let me zoom out a bit again. This root over here is the only viable root it has, and even then, as you can see, it's not very good. These were all kind of icky and dead. And in fact, this was the root that was growing before I went, but as you can see, it's all mushy now. So it's also pretty much dead. I can actually see a bit of a green growing tip on this one. So maybe a miracle does occur and this one continues to grow. But all in all, I have very little hope for this little plant. So I think we can count it as another orchid death. I had another Phalaenopsis in Pearl before, and this is another noID, yet again. But it looks a lot like the KS Happy Eagle. And this one wasn't doing very well. The other orchid that I got together with it was the Phalaenopsis Jeans Magenta, or so it looked like, was also a noID. And that one has died from some sort of stem rot. And when I talked to the owner of the orchidarium, he told me that those plants never really did very well for him. So he told me to keep a good eye on this one, because this one might have the similar problems. So I have, and I preemptively placed it in this little glass terrarium to make sure it has high humidity to try and help it along a little bit. I think it's helping. The leaves seem much more solid than when I left, for sure. And there's quite some roots actually. This root is looking quite good. It's clearly absorbing moisture. And you can see from the color green there that it has grown new roots. So I'm not going to mess around too much and move the moss around too much. But I think this is recovering quite well. And I think I'll leave it in moss and not put it in leca because, well, it's just fragile, clearly. But it's on the path of recovery, so I'm very happy with that. And ending on a good note, this is my Fredclackeara After Dark, and as you can see, there's one fat flower spike forming right over here. So I am thrilled about that, because I was kind of worried that my Clowesia and my Fredclackeara weren't going to flower this year, because it is January. So January, February, this really is the time for them to flower. And I hadn't seen any sign of it yet. So I'm really happy to see that this little nubbing that I saw before really did turn into a flower spike. I like the little bit of anthocyaning at the end, and look, there's so much happy sap. It looks so happy and fat, and the pseudobulb is all shiny. So yeah, I like that satine. I like it for all the fat, shiny little parts. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this one turn into a flower spike. I've been looking for signs of a second one, because when I bought it, it had 2 flower spikes. So I know it's capable of doing 2 per bulb at least, but I haven't spotted any sign of anything fattening up on this end. So maybe I'll just have to make do with 1 flower spike. But that's, oh, we just dropped a leaf. But that's already more than I was expecting at some point. So I'm really, really thrilled about this. For my Clowesia, there's still no sign of any sort of spiking. Here's the Clowesia. This is the bulb it came with. These are the bulbs that I grew this year. And, well, this sad little thing, but that hasn't developed at all. And look at the base. I don't see any eyes plumping up. None whatsoever. So I'm not sure whether this is going to flower this year, or whether I have to be more patient and it will flower at the end of February or something. Maybe even later. Maybe it will even flower in March. And maybe I'm just holding on to false hope and it won't flower at all. It is possible that it won't flower just because these 2 bulbs, even though combined they have more mass than this one, they aren't individually quite as large. So it looks like it was a little bit set back. But we'll see how it goes. Maybe we get lucky, maybe we won't. Either way, I'm happy that it has 2 healthy new growths, and next year will be better. And I know I promised you that I'd end on that note, but I lied. Because there's one more thing that I'm excited to show you, which is this tiny little flower spike. Right over here. I'm extremely excited about this because this is one of my favorite orchids. It's the Phalaenopsis Mini Mark. And I really like the flowers from the Phalaenopsis Mini Mark. So I've been looking at this plant every week at least to check it for flower spikes, because some of my other Phalaenopsis were spiking, and I really want to see these flowers again. And this one just wasn't spiking the whole time, and now finally I come home and there is a spike. Hallelujah! So I'm very happy about that. Yeah, this leaf, it broke off during the move, I'm afraid. I dropped a box of orchids, and thankfully this is the only one that was actually damaged. The other orchids are fine, but it lost half a leaf and it sulked for like a month. But it seems like it's finally done sulking, and it's going to make us some flowers, so I'm super happy about that. So that's everything that's new with my collection after I came back from my holiday. Thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions for me, you go ahead and leave them behind in the comments. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you really did not like it. And if you'd like to see more videos from me in the future, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.